In today's session, we'll understand the DC machine, the types of windings we use in DC machine, the lap winding and the wave winding, and accordingly we'll derive the equation for generator voltage in case of a DC machine. Now we have two types of windings, the lap winding and the wave winding. Now this is how a lap winding looks like. We know that uh, in case of a DC machine, the armature is made up of slots and teeth. Now how we actually arrange the uh, windings within these slots that we have to see. Say for example, we have a conductor in this, we'll have two conductors in this winding. In this slot. So is the how the connection is made between this slot and this slot, how the connection will be made between this slot and the next slot, how the connection will be made between this slot and this slot windings. They'll be decided whether we are following a lap winding or a wave winding. Now in case of a lap winding, what we do is and how also the connection is made with respect to the commutator of the DC machine. In case of a DC machine, we have understood that commutator rotates alongside the rotor. Commutator is made up of a number of segments. So if we label these segments as 1, 2, 3, so we have a conductor here that's placed in any slot. If it is connected, its one end is connected to commutator segment 1 and its another end is connected to commutator segment 2. This is a case of a lap winding. What happens is the next coil will start from commutator segment 2 and it will end up at commutator segment 3. Another coil will start at commutator segment 3. It will be placed in certain slots. So these windings will be connected. Uh, so you have this winding that will be connected to commutator segment 1. Its another end will be connected to commutator segment 2. The next winding in this commutator segment will be connected to commutator segment. The starting point of this will be at commutator segment 2. Its end point will be at commutator segment 3. So what we see is that the coils in this case lap over each other. That's why it's known as a lap winding. Simply stating, we have uh, we have a winding that's made up of a number of coils. The coils are made up of each coil is made up of two conductors at least. Uh, we need to understand that this is only one winding. What we do is that we take a number of conductors, place them in slots, and join the conductors. Uh, a minimum of two conductors form a coil, and each coil is connected to our next coil segment. Now, if these coils lap over each other because of the way they are connected with respect to the commutator, it's known as a lap winding. What we are doing is connection is started from a conductor in slot number 1, then the connections overlap each other as the winding proceeds. We also need to understand here that all these front end of the coils will be placed under the same pole, that is the north in this case, and the terminal end of the coils are placed under one pole, that is the south pole. You can see that the north pole with respect to the front end of the coil, the back end of the coil, they are forming the south end of the magnetic field. Due to such connection, these conductors will be divided into p number of parallel paths. So here we are actually showing only two poles. In case there are there's a four-pole structure. These coils will be divided into p number of parallel paths. So, as a result of this type of winding, p number of parallel paths will be generated. Now, since a large number of parallel paths are uh, produced because of lap winding, it will be used for where a machine will be designed for carrying higher currents. The second type of winding is the wave winding. In case of wave winding, uh, in case of a wave winding, we have again we can see this is a commutator roughly. We have one conductor. We have a coil. That's coil number one here. That's connected to its starting end is connected to commutator segment one. Its another end will be connected to commutator segment, say for example 7 or 8, something like that. This actually depends upon the pitch of the pitch and the number of the pitch of this the commutator pitch of this wave winding. We will not be going to the details of the design of lap windings and wave windings. We need to only understand here that uh, in this case, in case of lap winding, the front end of the coil was connected to commutator segment 1. Its back end was connected to commutator segment 2. Uh, from commutator segment 1, front end of coil 2 started, and this end and coil two's back end finished at commutator segment 3. At commutator segment 3, front end of coil 3 starts. It finishes at commutator segment 4. That's in case of a lap winding. In case of a wave winding, the front end of coil 1 starts at commutator segment 1. After n number of commutator segments, you will see the back end of commutator segment, the back end of the coil being connected. So this coil will be connected to commutators at another end. Uh, from commutator segment N, the coil 2 will start and that will finish at uh, 2n plus, say for example 2n. From 2n, the third coil will start, it will finish at 4n. So instead of these coils are not, in this case, the difference between commutator segments of this where the same coils are connected is not 1, but it is n in this case. Uh, so what happens is this results in the coils being arranged in a wave pattern. The coils do not get overlapped with each other. That's why the name wave winding. Also, we see in this case the number of parallel paths will be only 2. There will not be, in case of lap winding, the number of parallel paths produced were equal to P, that's the equal to the number of poles. But in this case, the parallel paths will only be 2, irrespective of the number of poles of the machine. Uh, since the parallel paths are less, it will be used for low current and high voltage uh, machines. This is an illustration of a two-pole lap-wound DC machine. These are the slots in which the conductors are placed. Uh, so in case of lap winding, conductor 1 starts from this uh, starts from this slot, and the coil touches the commutator segment A. The next coil of this segment is located at commutator segment 2, that is next adjacent to this commutator segment, that is marked B in this diagram. You'll see uh, the coil segment starts. In the next commutator segment, coil segment of 3 starts. In the next commutator segment, coil segment of 4 starts. Next commutator segment, coil segment of coil 5 starts. So in each commutator segment of one by one, the front end of the commutator is connected. Uh, the front the front end of the coil is connected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They represent the front end of the conductors. 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash, 5 dash, 6 dash, 7 dash, and 8 dash. They represent the back end of the conductors. Now, if we know, now in case of a lap winding, we know that if a coil starts at commutator segment 1, it will end at commutator segment 2. So in this case, the commutator segments are marked A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So at commutator segment 1, 1 is located, so its back end will finish at commutator segment B. So this coil actually is another end of the coil 1. So this will actually represent the same coil here. Similarly, from the next commutator segment coil, the front end of coil number 2 will start, and it will end up at commutator segment C. So 2 dash is connected here. So this is the front back end of the coil that's connected to commutator segment 2, and moving so on. So this is how a lap winding will look like in a real DC machine. This is a wave-bound DC machine. Again, note here that 1, 2, 3 represent the front end of the coil, 1 dash, 2 dash represent the back end of the coil. So in this case, you can see the front end of the coil 1 is connected to commutator segment A, and the back end is connected to commutator segment F. So it is not connected to next commutator segment, that is B in this case. And from F, commutator segment, uh, next coil will start. That's mark 6 in this case. So that will end. 6 dash is ending at B. Similarly, from B another uh, from B also coil conductor 2 will start. From C conductor 3 will start. They will be connected in such a fashion that the back ends will be located and commutator segments apart. So in case of a lap winding, each the back end and the front end are connected only to adjacent commutator segments, while as in case of a wave-bound DC machines, the front end and the back end are connected and commutator segments apart. So what that also results in, the lap winding results in p number of parallel paths, while as a wave winding will result in only 2 number of parallel paths. So in case of a lap winding, we will use as many brushes as the number of poles, while as in case of wave winding, since we have only 2 parallel paths, we'll only be using 2 brushes always, irrespective of the number of poles. Now deriving the induced voltage in the case of a DC generator. We already know that the basic equation that gets the voltage that's induced in one conductor is E is equal to VBL. Now we have a winding. We can have a number of turns of this winding. They will also be located in, or depending upon the lap winding or wave winding, they will also be distributed in a different number of parallel paths. So if Z is the total number of conductors, where conductor refers to this portion. So in this case, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 conductors. So Z refers to the total number of conductors, or it actually refers to one turn of the coil, uh, one coil segment. So each coil segment, if each coil has two coil segments, so Z refers. So each coil will be having two conductors. So number of turns, if the number of turns are 4, so the total number of conductors will be 4 cross 2, that's 8. So Z here refers to the total number of conductors. And if A is the number of parallel paths, in case of a lap winding, A will be equal to P, while as in case of a wave winding, A will be equal to 2. This is for lap, this is for wave winding. So then the total induced EMF in Z in all the conductors will be Z divided by A, B, B, L. Z is the total number of conductors, but they will be distributed in a number of paths. And since we know that voltage across every path will be equal, while as the current distributes, the total number of conductors in one parallel path will only be equal to Z by A. So in one path, the number of conductors are Z by A. So total number of induced voltage in one path will be Z by A VBL, and this voltage will be, since they are all the paths are in parallel, this voltage will be distributed in all these parallel paths. We can also write V equal to R omega. That means E will be Z by A R omega B L is equal to Z by A R omega B L. Now we also know that phi is equal to B into A. Magnetic flux is equal to magnetic flux density into area. Since the rotor is designed like a cylinder, the area will be equal to 2 pi RL. And since the cylinder only the area that will be associated with one magnetic pole will be 2 pi RL divided by P. So this is the area per pole. So flux in that case will be B 2 pi RL divided by P, where A is the area of the cylindrical surface of the rotor per pole. So from here we get B is equal to pi P divided by 2 pi RL. So our induced voltage will become E is equal to Z by A R omega B is pi P by 2 pi RL into L. So this is Z pi P divided by 2 pi A omega. So E induced is Z pi P omega divided by 2 pi A. So this is the equation of induced voltage in case of a DC generator. Now we can take Zp by 2 pi A outside, Zp by 2 pi A phi omega, and we can replace Zp by 2 pi A by a constant K phi omega. Now this constant K equal to Zp by 2 pi A, most of this will be actually decided initially during design process, the number of poles, the number of conductors, depending upon the lap winding or wave winding. Uh, A will be either 2 or equal to number of poles. So E will be constant here. So we can see that induced voltage is directly proportional to flux and speed. So the if the speed of rotation is more, induced EMF will be uh, more. If the Similarly, if the magnetic flux generated is more, if the field voltage applied is more, induced voltage will be more. Also, we can convert the speed from radians per second. That's in case of uh, here omega is in radians per second. We can convert this into RPM. Uh, Accordingly, we'll get uh, the induced voltage equal to Z. By multiplying the induced voltage, the speed by 2 pi by 60. So this is about the induced voltage in case of a DC generator. So in today's lecture, what we have seen is the lap winding, the wave winding, and the induced voltage in case of DC generators. Lap winding is simply we have the winding. It is distributed into a number of coils and turns. In each slot there will be placed conductors. Now, if the front end of the if the coil's front end is connect and the back end are connected to adjacent commutator segments, they will form a lap winding. Uh, as a resultant of which the number of parallel paths produced in case of lap winding will be equal to P. While as in case of wave winding, what we do is the front end of a coil is placed on commutator segment 1. The back end of the coil will be placed uh, P number of commutator pits apart. Uh, so there will not be any uniformity in case of wave winding. The commutator pitch will be decided by a number of factors governing the DC machine. The result will be that only two parallel paths will be produced in case of a wave winding. We cannot go much into the details of this lap winding and wave winding. There's more to it. Uh, we need to just remember here that in case of lap winding, the number of parallel paths produced are equal to P. Also, P number of brushes will be used. Whereas in case of wave winding, the number of parallel paths produced are only 2. So two brushes are used. The lap winding will be used for high current capacity, while as the wave winding will be used for high voltage capacity. Accordingly, we derive the induced voltage. Now, induced voltage is E equal to VBL. That is the voltage induced per conductor. If Z is the total number of conductors, A is the number of parallel paths. So, in each parallel path, the number of conductors will be equal to Z by A. So the induced voltage in one parallel path, that will be the voltage across all parallel paths, will be Z by A into VBL. Simply by mathematical manipulation, where we have replaced V is equal to R omega and B is equal to pi A, where A is the area of the cylinder, and taking the area of the cylinder per pole, that will be 2 pi RL by P. We have the equation E is equal to Z pi P omega divided by 2 pi A. So this is the induced voltage in case of Z pi P omega divided by 2A. Now we can replace omega by, we can use it, if we replace it in, if instead of using omega in radians per second, we use N, that's in RPM, our equation will be ZP phi N divided by 60A. This is the equation. If instead of using omega, we use N, that's in RPMs. So this is all about the induced voltage in case of generators and the lap windings and the wave windings. We'll, uh, there are two important issues in case of DC machines. They are the armature reaction, the issue of armature reaction and the issue of commutation. We'll be discussing those in the next session.